All right. So there's a challenge that's been made to folks who say that God exists is a true statement. And the challenge is the God that you're claiming when you make that statement, the God of Islam, Judaism, and Christianity, its nature is incompatible with the world that it is said to have created, because this world is full of lots of needless, intense suffering. Therefore, they claim this God can't exist. It would be logically inconsistent with its creation. This is going to compel those who still believe that this God exists in spite of all of the evil of the world. It's going to compel them to come forward and offer what's called a theodicy. I'm going to explain to you how it is that this God that I say exists is not incompatible with this world that we live in that contains evil. One type of theodicy is called the Freewill Theodicy. Okay, so imagine this, they say. Imagine you're God, and you're going to create a world or a universe. And in this universe, there will be human beings. You have the choice to give those human beings free will or not. Do you? So the question is, if you're going to create a being, is that being greater if it has free will or not? If it has the ability to make choices, is it a better creation than if it didn't have the ability to make choices? And I'm going to go with, no, I think that personally, I'm going to go with, no, I think the being that has the free will is the better being. If nothing else, it's the more interesting being, right? Because it's not just a wind-up toy. So a being that actually has free will is going to be a better being. It's going to be a much more meaningful being. It's not just going to be a robot. You also should consider this. To have free will, you have to have the ability to choose to perform an action or not perform an action, okay? So I was thinking about this the other day as I was talking to a friend. And this friend was saying, I think our existence would be much better were we not able to do horrific things. And the argument was, if we didn't have the ability to do these horrific things, those horrific things would never happen. And when I challenged him, he said, well, you're not going to ever do those kinds of things, so why do you want to have the ability to do that? Fair question. And my response was, well, I want to have the ability to do that so that I can intentionally not do it. I want to not do it. I think that not doing it, whatever the it is, I think that not doing it, but having the ability to do it, is what builds moral character in individuals. Right? We don't hold you at fault or praise you when you do something that you couldn't have helped doing, or you didn't do something that you couldn't have done. Right? We only celebrate your character or condemn it when you've chosen to do something that you didn't have to do. And if the thing you chose to do was a really good thing, then hey, heap the praise. And if it's a really bad thing that you did, then hey, heap the scorn. But without the ability to do either one of those things, either the bad thing or the good thing, without the ability to do those things, what do we make of your character? What even is your character if you don't have the ability to choose to perform that action? So if you're going to have free will because God thinks, or you think as the God, you're going to create beings that have free will because beings that have free will are greater than beings that don't, then what that means is you're giving these beings the ability to make choices, to do things or not do certain things. And so you have to ask yourself now, if this God exist, couldn't this God make it so that I felt like I had the ability to make these choices, but I really didn't? Like I could really feel like I could have done the wrong thing, but in actuality I couldn't. And so then you'd have to ask yourself, all right, well, would this kind of God that we're exploring create people who lived in a kind of illusion like that? Would an all-good God create people who believed they were free to do evil, but they really weren't? And it seems like a fair point to say, well, no, because that's a kind of deception. And that's deception is not good. And so an all good God wouldn't want to deceive its own creations, even if that deception turned out to be useful. All right. So here's one defense of one theodicy of how it is that the world we live in, with all of its evil, may be compatible with the God of the monotheistic religions.